should be a good day. Wake up.
All right, just go and take it. I think that's going to be a bit of a theme for this one. Welcome into the morning hockey shot. This is a Saturday, August 9th edition. Turn that background music off. Welcome into the show. I am Andrew McDougall. We've got a big show this morning. As I said off the top, just take it, because I think the Brisbane Lightning are just sitting there and putting the top 6 spot on the table for the Adelaide Adrenaline to just go and take if they want. Interesting weekend last weekend in the Australian Ice Hockey League. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you for joining me this morning. You can find my work at andrewkmacdougall.com.au and on the socials at andrewkmacdougall on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Give it a subscribe, some comments, some likes, all that sort of stuff, just to help the algorithm grow and help the platform grow and hockey grow, and do all the good stuff for us. Rate and review as well, and let people know. Let your neighbour know if they're not into hockey. They will be after listening to this show, no doubt. We have a couple of comments already in the chat as well. Sky Easton, good morning. AMAC, good morning. Sky. Steve Moller, good morning. Doogie, good morning to Steve. As I did mention off the top, we've got a big show today. We've got a fan favourite coming in. Corey Katina as well in the chat. Good evening over there in Minnesota. Good morning, good evening, Corey. We've got a fan favourite coming on today as a guest for the show. I'm excited to get him on. If I have a look at the menu today, Sean O'Connor, the guru over at Oz Hockey Media, president of Oz Hockey Media. I think that's the official term for Sean O'Connor. Ice lift the trophy. Obviously, there was some big news last weekend after result for the Melbourne Ice and the Brisbane Lightning. The Lightning dropped 6. Wanted to touch on Yu Higasaka as well. Liam Webster, massive weekend for Liam Webster last weekend for the Melbourne Ice. And obviously standings, schedule, and pick of the week as well. Just to round it out, I'll give my pick of the week. And you never know, Sean might hang on till the end of the show today just for something different and give picks of the week as well. So I'll ask Sean when I bring Sean into the show if he's keen to hang around. But the first one there, point number 2, Ice lift the trophy. So I wanted to talk about the Melbourne Ice just briefly before I bring Sean into the show. The Melbourne Ice are clearly the best team this season and have been throughout the entire season. It's quite crazy when you look at the results and the standings and things like that across the season. So they Ice have played 25 games this season and only lost 2 in regulation, which is unbelievable. And I don't know the stats on regulation losses throughout the history of the AI. And I don't know if Sean has any idea on these stats as well, but it'd be interesting to see the regulation loss, like the history of it compared to other teams, and how many losses teams have had in regulation over the journey. But the Melbourne Ice, they lift the H. Newman Reid Trophy as minor premiers. They're sitting on top currently with 61 points. Absolutely outstanding. They've got a rock-solid team. And I did release an article during the week just outlining a few things that caught my eye. Tatsu Ishida. I think Tatsu was one of the points that I raised in my article. And I think I don't think Tatsu is as dominant as 2024, but still been absolutely outstanding for the Melbourne Ice this season. And then when you look at the firepower, that's one of the things that really stands out to me when I look at the Melbourne Ice. I look at the firepower that they have, and I think about the AI, and I think it's funny because Sean's coming on. I know they did have this discussion on their show on Thursday night, Hockey Night in Australia, just about the high number of goals and the scores this season in the AI, and they did talk about how high the scores are. And I always think about the AI, and I think, I think it's a score heavy league. So, and I look at the imports that are coming in that are improving the league every single season. And then when you look at the Melbourne Ice and you look at who they've got on their roster this season, it's quite outstanding. When you look at it, guys like Colton Schindel, who's 56 points, Joakim Erdogan, 55 points, Matt Caruana, he's the only Australian in that 50-point bracket for the Melbourne Ice on 53. And then David Booth is obviously on 50, who's created all sorts of headlines during the week globally for the AI with that outstanding goal. But 50 points from 11 games is ridiculous. And that's a big reason why the Melbourne Ice are sitting where they are. And obviously, also in that article, I did touch on Kerry Goulet, and it was quite interesting. Kerry gave me a call after reading the article. He was very thankful for the article and what I put in there. But it's absolutely true. Like Kerry, after last season and the season before, he went away and he continues to improve as a coach. Goes back to Canada and learns and studies and gets better. And I think you can see the evolution in Kerry Goulet as a bench boss as well. So yeah, the Melbourne Ice, they are the H. Newman Reid Trophy winners, sitting on top of the Australian Ice Hockey League standings, and deservedly so. They've been the best team all season, the most consistent as well, and can do it on both ends of the ice. They can score and they can also defend quite soundly as well. So it'll be interesting. And the thing with the Melbourne Ice as well, they don't leave Melbourne for the rest of the season, including finals. So that's pretty massive when I think about the stretch home, running into finals. The fact that they don't have to travel, they're staying at O'Brien until the end now. In the end, if they get to the Goodall Cup final, that will be the end. So the fact that they don't have to leave their state anymore for the rest of the season is absolutely massive, I think. Corey Katina's in the chat as well. There was a Brave team that only lost one game in regulation. I'm trying to think back to when that was, Corey. But it's an outstanding achievement to only lose 1 or 2 games in regulation throughout a season. Andrew John Egan in the chat as well should hang a banner for the H. Newman Reid Trophy. I'm not sure, Andrew. I don't think they might run out of space at O'Brien if we're going to hang all these banners up at O'Brien Icehouse. Also got Courtney in the chat as well. Good morning, Courtney. Glad to see you're up and early and tuning in to the two legends. Thank you very much. Speaking of legend, I will bring him in now. He's been sitting in the background having a listen. President of Oz Hockey Media, does outstanding work over there with the graphics and getting all the news out, etc., across their website as well. Sean O'Connor, welcome to the
morning, Doogie. How you going?
What's happening, mate?
Oh, not much. It was a bit of a struggle to make sure that I was up in time for the show, but I'm glad I am.
It's
I can already tell you one, by the way. 2019 was the Brave team that only lost 1 game.
Okay, there you go.
They lost 2 games in the entire season, 1 in the shootout, 1 in regulation.
And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy when you think about like teams only losing 1 or 2 in regulation, considering with the AI, like when you think about the travel, like heading over to Perth and things like that, like it's not like it's a short trip, short flight, short bus ride to get to a different rink like you might see in different parts of the world. It's pretty crazy to think that teams can travel from the East Coast to West Coast and still pick up wins.
100%. And yeah, I mean, and it's so hard to do consistently. And as you say, with those big trips, like, going to Perth, you literally like arrive and then you basically having to play hockey straight away. And you're just there, just absolutely, smashed. And then, you come back and you're lucky to come away with wins, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Canberra Brave, I don't think it's any secret that you're a Canberra Brave fan. You've got the cap on. I know you do a lot of things for the entire league in terms of covering it, but you are a Canberra Brave fan. It's been an interesting season with all the changes and moving from rink and all the excitement. I did see Steve Moller sent me a message just before the Canberra Times. I think it was the Brave, I think, a front page of the Canberra Times. It's quite outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been insane to see the turnaround in kind of, I guess, exposure that the team's getting. Both local media, as you say, with the Canberra Times, region media, but also then, and ABC News, but also, the national news services as well, picking up not just Canberra, but also kind of the league in general for the very first time, and kind of seeing hockey in like a positive light in media. It seems really unusual, because the only times we've ever really seen previously when our league has made sort of national news has been for negative things. So it kind of shows that there's a lot more interest in the league, and that's great to see.
Yeah, it's usually if there's a fight or something like that on the ice, that's when the only time you'd sort of get that media coverage.
Yes, or Bingate, or something like this. Or the two Sydney teams having to pull out, pre-season. That made national news, and again, that wasn't a positive news item, but yeah.
We've got Andrew John Egan in the chat, the Canberra Brave mogul. I'm guessing he's talking about you, Sean. And Courtney, AIS build it and they will come. Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it? Supply and demand, I suppose. And it's had the conversation across this show, and I know across your show as well, Sean, that it's one of those things where you think now that the AIS arena sort of concept, if possible, could happen across the country.
100%. I keep thinking, oh yeah, you could totally do this up in Brisbane. You could do this in Perth. You could do this in Adelaide. I feel that there's a lot of support. You look at every team. Every team seems to be packing out their arenas, and it's interesting. I actually recently been doing quite a bit of research into old seasons, and that includes looking at a lot of old photos and just noticing just how many more empty seats there were back then compared to what you see now. So definitely it is a sport on the rise, but it's kind of, for a lot of the parts of the country, it's kind of at that capacity now where the actual arenas are the things that are holding the league and these teams back, as opposed to yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of those things, I think, where it's the professionalism, I suppose, on the ice and the product, even off the ice, and I suppose in what we do and what local newspaper and that do and things like that, and the way that the clubs promote themselves in that professional sense. You see it with people getting photos and autographs of these players who will play on a weekend and then they'll go and be a plumber from Monday to Friday. But you can see that professionalism, and now I suppose it's trying to line up that professionalism with professional rinks.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of like late 80s, early 90s rugby league. Obviously being from Canberra, big rugby league town traditionally. So the Raiders are massive here. And I remember, those glory days of the Raiders back in late 80s, early 90s. All those players had second jobs. They're all laborers, bricklayers, whatever. And yeah, it kind of, there's a lot of parallels between that and what ice hockey's at.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Moller as well in the comments, have to agree with Sean, best positive media coverage for quite some time. And also build it and promote it like crazy and they will come. Yeah, I do agree with that as well, Steve, 100%.
And I think it's been such a big statement to, I guess, a lot of different media as well as people in the community that, yeah, this is a sport that wants to be bigger than it is and it can put on a great show. And it's really proven that concept, not just for Canberra, but for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The Canberra Brave season, Sean, is there one moment or one thing that you can pinpoint where you felt like they'd really turned the corner and turned into the team that we're seeing right now?
Yeah, there definitely was a slower start to the season. I mean, the problem with the Brave over the last two seasons has been that they've had very disjointed rosters. They haven't had like a single roster for the entire season. So they tend to have guys who are there at the very beginning, and then they have a bit of lap period where they kind of treading water, trying to make sure that they're able to get the rest of their imports in and kind of build up that proper chemistry throughout the entire team. So I don't know if there's an exact point, but the losses in Melbourne against the Mustangs in the ice, they were big losses. That kind of was that. I feel that was the kind of point where that was the Brave at their lowest, and then they kind of have come out from that and have built again.
Do you feel like they're a more of an even team this season, like in terms of production? Like when I look at like 2024 and you think about like Cangelosi, who was outstanding last season and was sort of like the number one guy. I sort of look at the Brave this season and I don't feel like that.
Yeah, I tend to agree too. It is interesting seeing a Brave team that doesn't have sort of a focal scoring point, because so many Brave teams previously have. Like you look at all the Stephen Blunden years, the Geordie Woodrick, and yeah, like Kangolosi last year. This year, yeah, the points are definitely shared, but I think because they don't have that sort of massive natural goal scorer, it means that there's been a lot more points shared around. Like even through the lower lines, for instance, like you got players like Mitch Henning, Cam Todd, you got Kai Miettinen who are all scoring points. So it's definitely been a different Brave season for that in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. And there's been a lot of change too when you think about the likes of even Casey Kabara departing as well. Like that's a big hole. When people, I suppose, when people look at a team and they'll see someone leave the team, there's not just a player leaving. Like you got to look at, okay, they've left the team. That's fine, but we have to replace. Like we have to replace those points or those goals from somewhere. So like I think Casey scored nearly 20 goals last season for the Canberra Brave. You've still got to replace those goals.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, the Brave did set in play a bit of a plan to kind of for that transition. I mean, that's why we saw players like Tommy Stephen come into the team and Jacob Carey last year. And they've continued on this year and have built on their performances from last year. Like Carey, I can't sort of, you can't really deny just how important he is for the Brave this year. He's been, a massive player. He's stepped up a lot. He is probably the player who is the go-to goal scorer in the Brave team at the moment. And he's just fulfilling that role magically.
And they are the informed team of the competition, the Brave. They've gone 9-1 in their last 10, which is absolutely outstanding. I am here with Sean O'Connor, the president of Oz Hockey Media. If you've got a question for Sean, drop it in the chat. We can get it up on the screen. Courtney's got a question here or a comment, and it's something that I was going to chat with you about. Tetro and Hasselman have found their groove and are an unbelievable tandem in net. It's funny because when I looked at this tandem like throughout the season, and I did mention it sort of being similar to, I suppose, the Brisbane Lightning, where they were sort of close in terms of games played and they were sort of sharing the load a bit. But it does look like Alex Tetro has now taken that sort of mantle when you look at the amount of games that he's playing compared to Hasselman. Where do you see these two goaltending tandems? Obviously, Alex is a former Goodall Cup champion and can obviously take the team all the way to the end.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and he's been such a great stalwart for the team for so many years now. Obviously, changing that tandem up from him and Alexi, who are obviously very good friends, and were in those similar roles for a long time. I think it was always expected this year that Alex would take more of the lion's share of games than Joel Hasselman, but man, Hasselman's been great when he's come in as well. And it has been such a relief for the team to have that tandem. I think that anytime any team has great goalie tandems, they're so much stronger than if you're just relying squarely on one goaltender. Because if they're unavailable for whatever reason, you kind of go into a bit of troubleshooting, and it doesn't end up as well for them. But I've been really happy with the two. Joel Hasselman he's such a gentleman. He actually did a heap of work on building the rink when they were building it at the AIS, and when you were down actually for the Mustangs games, he was the one out there repairing the glass when it broke.
Yeah,
and everyone was commenting like, "Oh, thank God he wasn't in goals and we didn't have to wait for him to take off all his goalie uniform."
Yeah, heavily invested. When I was there, and it's funny because like obviously Alexi Toivonen had departed the Canberra Brave, so there was that big question of like, how is this going to play out now for the Brave? And it looks like they've found their tandem. And when I look at Hasselman as well, even when I was up there for the Mustangs for that weekend, some of the saves that Hasselman was producing was just outstanding. Just some of the reactions sort of pushing off from one side to the other just to get there in time was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. He has some great shot saving skills. But both him and Alex have periods where they can make some mistakes, and it's good to have the other one to support them for when that happens. And so it's been working out quite well for the Brave this year.
Got Sky in the chat as well. Love watching Tommy play. I think a lot of people do, Sky. And there is a question here for you, Sean. Hey, Sean, who is your number one local player that's not a Canberra player and why?
That's not a Canberra player. It's interesting. I mean, there's so many great local players around. I personally really love Matt Carolina. I've been so impressed with him the last 3 years. Just how he sort of transformed his game from prior to that, and seeing just him build himself into this phenomenal goal scoring machine for the Ice, like, has been unbelievable. He took over the captaincy there, and yeah, just I'm always impressed by him.
Yeah, absolute gentleman too, off the ice as well. The interactions I've had with Mac as well. So yeah, not surprising that you've put Mac's name up there. Courtney in the chat as well. The standout weekend being when they played one game each and both beat Melbourne Ice's onslaught. And Andrew John Egan as well, just returning fire, erased from memory, telling Courtney as a Melbourne Ice person. That was a big weekend for the Canberra Brave, and it was one of those weekends, I think, Sean, where when the Ice did come to town, I think like when they played at AIS Arena, I felt like that was almost like a little bit of a mini statement sort of weekend for the Canberra Brave, because the Melbourne Ice were obviously they're now the minor premiers. They've been sitting on top all season, hadn't lost in regulation, and the Brave were building and had been on that winning streak. And then I felt like when the Ice came to town, it was almost like like a little mini statement, like partway through the season. I'm not sure if it was halfway through or just after halfway through the season, but they were two big wins for the Canberra Brave. And you could see out on the ice, I think, even with the celebrations after the goals, that it did mean a lot to them.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was important, not just for the Brave, but probably for other teams in the league as well, to see the Ice can be beaten. Because until then, they were just this rolling juggernaut. There were times when, like, I distinctly remember when the Mustangs were up by, I think it was 3 goals over the Ice at one stage, and then the Ice came back and still managed to win. And they've done that constantly through the season. You know, I always regard that as kind of the telltale sign of a championship kind of winning team, when, you know, the cards can be working against you, but you can still turn it and make it and get the victory. Yeah, it was a big weekend for Canberra. I know there was always caveats over this, to the fact that Booth wasn't playing, but still, you had to go out there, you had to perform, and you had to beat what was the best team in the league by far, and Canberra managed to do it. And I do want to have a shout out to all those traveling Ice fans that weekend. They were all so amazing, and I know that they did cop a bit from some of sections of the Brave fans. So yeah, thanks for coming down, guys, and it was so much fun.
Well, you can only beat who you can beat. So, you know, those people who say that this player wasn't playing or that player, you can only beat who's out there. And the Brave did that. How much do you think the AIS, like the rink and all that sort of stuff, has helped the Brave this season in terms of like the way they're playing and their form and how good they're looking?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the actual ice size itself isn't too dissimilar to Phillip. Obviously, it's a bit wider than what Phillip was, but it's not, it's not any longer, which means that it's still a kind of specialized sized rink. And for that, Canberra has always been very good at playing in their home ice. Other teams are often used to much larger sheets of ice, like Melbourne. So it makes a bit of a difference for the Brave, and the way they play and move around that ice sheet it's unbelievable. And the movement, so much great movement from one side to the other. The Brave just have like this great passing game going at the moment, and it is different though. All the Brave players have said that I've talked to have said that it is different having the glass this year as opposed to previously. It does change how you play a bit, and so, and just I guess the noise from the crowd is quite different when you've got about 1,000 people compared to 3,000 people. It makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew John Egan as well can only beat what's out there. Canberra can take plenty from it regardless. Form doesn't lie. I totally agree. Corey Katina as well. I would argue that it was good for the Ice as well. Not losing, it's easy to get complacent. That's the other, I suppose, flip side of those results as well. Is it might have been good for the Ice, I suppose, to lose those two, as people say.
Yeah, I was talking to Vinny Hughes after the game at Caribou, and we were talking about the fact that the Ice probably needed a bit of adversity for the season. It doesn't hurt to have that and to know what that feeling is, because you want to get back to that winning way. And again, I look back on that 2019 Canberra season, for instance, and the Brave just went most of the season without losing, and then they lost first game in finals to the Bears and were just knocked out, and that was it. They didn't really have that adversity through the regular season, so it can.
And
it
Steve
can work.
Muller as well. Sometimes you got to lose to keep winning. One guy I wanted to talk to you about, and then we can move on. And if you're happy to hang around, Sean, I might get you to hang around for the entire show. If you got nothing on this morning, I've got his signed puck here behind me. I picked it up when I was at AIS Arena. Niels Kahnbach. Like, I love watching Niels play. I think been a fantastic addition to the Canberra Brave. 20 points from 11 games, 9 goals as well this season. What do you see from Niels? Because I feel like Niels just adds something totally different for the Canberra Brave lineup since coming in.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I look at our import players this year, especially our forwards, and he's definitely someone who's very different from the other forwards that we have. And I absolutely adore watching Niels play hockey. He's got like silky hands. He has phenomenal puck handling skill. Probably next level to what I've seen from a Canberra player before. And he adds a lot to that team. He's been a big difference to not only just score goals himself, but also creating lots of opportunities with these sort of forward runs that he does and gets around defenses and in behind and be able to pass it back. So I very much a big fan of his. And I know he has a really famous father.
Yeah, right. There you go. Okay. Andrew John Egan, impressive player, good mitts. So agreeing with your take there from Andrew Egan.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure his father played in the NHL for a long time. Way back then. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head.
Go.
Patrick Kahnbach.
There's a good pedigree there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
And it was one of those things too, I suppose, just finishing up with the Canberra Brave talk, when Brendan McNally departed the club, it was really one of those things of like, okay, how is the Brave going to replace someone like that who was just lights out since arriving?
Yeah, I know. And he actually had really great chemistry with Kanich when they first started the season as well. So it was disappointing to see Brendan McNally leave, especially because, the Brave had signed him up a couple of years ago, wasn't able to end up coming. Finally was able to come out. And then, he really hit the road. He was a natural goal scorer. He would have scored so many goals this season if he was here the entire season. But he was an impressive player, but I had to leave. So it was a bit of a shock to the team to be able to try and replace that within the team. I am sad though that he never got to experience the AIS, because his last game was the weekend before they moved to the AIS against the North Stars, and should be hopefully, I don't know, maybe he might come back, who knows.
Yeah, it would have been good to see, I suppose, McNally and a Booth go head to head at some stage in the league at the same time. Are you keen to hang around for the rest of the show?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We're going to have Sean hang around for the rest of the show. I know usually the guests depart midway through and I can finish off the show, but Sean's going to hang around. My next point that I had on my menu this morning was the Brisbane Lightning. I'd love to get your thoughts, Sean, on where the Brisbane Lightning sit, because it feels like they've lost 6 in a row now. They're sitting 6 and they're just sort of we talk about it every single week on your show, on this show, in the articles that we release. The Adelaide Adrenaline is sniffing around. They're hanging around. They're not going anywhere. And they've got to pretty much go lights out, the Adelaide Adrenaline, for the rest of the season. And stranger things have happened if the Brisbane Lightning continue on this slide. But it must be sort of alarming, I suppose, for the Lightning to be in this sort of slump at this stage of the season.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think most teams have had different slumps through different parts of the season. It's never ideal to have that sort of towards the pointy end, right at the back end. But yeah, 6 games. I didn't realize it was 6 games now that they've lost in a row. Yeah, I don't know what you do to change that for the Lightning, but it's not like they don't score lots of goals. They still score lots of goals. I guess it's just trying to make sure that they can not concede as much at the moment. But it's not like Dornbos and Trinker are playing any worse than they have all season. They're still playing phenomenally well. I don't know just how much losing Stoney has changed the dynamic in their forward play and around the team. Yeah.
And you think about it, like when you look at the Lightning, and it's funny because when I had Lachlan Eels on, Lachlan Eels sort of, one of the things that was sort of a question mark for Lachlan as their commentator all season, and just seeing from his vantage point, was the defender, like their defense. He felt like it was a little bit thin and sort of needed to be a little bit stronger. And when you look at it, the games in Melbourne last weekend, they started off like they were 2-0 up on the Mustangs. They were 3-1 up on the Melbourne Ice. So they were in the box seat, I suppose, early, but they just weren't able to hang on to that lead throughout the full 60 minutes.
Yeah. And that's a big issue for them at the moment. And that's also can be a confidence thing too, right? So, when you start going on a cold streak, it can be hard to snap out of it and sort of lift your head. Like so many times, if you start conceding a few goals, you just drop. I see this in the Rhinos at the moment as well. So often, they play really well and then they might concede 2 or 3 goals in a row and then their heads just drop, and it's really hard to change that and to build that mentality back up. So I'm hoping that Brisbane can do it because they are a good team. They have been a good team this year. They've been high as second this year. So yeah, and there's nothing to say that they can't turn it around and have a good finals if they make it. But you're right, Adelaide are there. They are challenging. They are really keen for it. I definitely got that impression from Nathaniel Benson on Thursday night, and yeah, it's really anyone's game. I thought last week that game against the Mustangs was so important for both the Lightning and the Mustangs season. It really felt like it was almost a grand final in itself, because both teams had not been in fantastic form, and yeah, it felt like whoever wins this could really change the course of their season.
Yeah, and I did mention it last weekend with Peter, the show I had with Peter, that I felt like the Lightning needed to split that weekend, last weekend in Melbourne. And it's funny because like you're mentioning, like they're still scoring. They went 3 for 17 on the power play. So they've had 17 power play opportunities across the 2 games last weekend in Melbourne. And if you wonder if they had have gone, I don't know, if they had have maybe scored a few more on either of those power plays, how different would have those results been for the Lightning down in Melbourne? And then obviously that changes the whole landscape of the top 6 in Adelaide trying to get in.
Yes, I think there's I think that's also a definite thing, not just regarding the Lightning, but also around the league period as special teams, just how important they are. Like you look at how good the special teams are for the Melbourne Ice this year. They score a heap of goals on power plays and even on penalty kills. And I looked at actually before this, I was looking at the results from last week and the actual box scores for the Brave and Perth Thunder. And I didn't quite realize this when I was watching it last week, but the amount of goals that Perth scored on the power play, they were so phenomenal on the power play. And the difference between the 2 days, and the results were vastly different last week for Perth and Canberra on Saturday and Sunday, was that on Sunday that Brave only allowed them to have 2 power plays. Whereas the day before they had 6 and they scored 4 out of 6, and on Sunday they scored 1 of 2. So yeah, it can definitely make a difference in this league.
Yeah, 100%. Courtney's in the chat as well. Lightning have a double v Rhinos and North Stars. Meanwhile, Adelaide have North Stars, Rhinos, and 2 v Perth. Diverse ice. It's much harder for road for Adelaide. Absolutely, it is. 100%. Courtney. Andrew John Egan, Adelaide going all the way. They'll make a Disney movie out of it. It would be cool to see, as I did mention last week. Corey Katina, it's hard to keep winning when you are negative in 5-on-5 scoring. So that's a big thing as well, I suppose. In terms of, I'm guessing he's talking about the Brisbane Lightning as well. Corey Katina. Someone else I wanted to talk about, and I know Courtney, who's hopefully still sitting there live, is massive on and is the go-to for Courtney every single week, and as Yu Hikasaka. Yu Hikasaka has been such a revelation, I think, coming to the Australian Ice Hockey League. I think it's been so cool to see you play for the Perth Thunder. It's really weird. Like, obviously, I'm on the East Coast. You're over this side on the East Coast as well, Sean. So we're sort of not close to it at all. But it feels like you is such a part of that Thunder organization now, in terms of the organization, in terms of the fans. Had a massive weekend last weekend for the Thunder, put up 4 goals on the Saturday game, had the 1 assist on the Sunday. When you scores in bunches.
Yes.
And Courtney's got a comment here, Mr. Big Time. It's crazy to think, like, he's 22 goals above Kieran Webster, the next best in terms of goals for the Thunder this season. That's a massive, massive gap. But it's I suppose it's because he scores in bunches. When he scores like 4, 5, or 3. It's just, yeah, it's unbelievable.
And when he doesn't score, he has like a 1-point game or something like this, right?
Yeah. Like, I remember I asked Chris Langill this question about the Thunder. Could you think they can win the cup if you isn't scoring like that?
Isn't scoring like that?
If you doesn't,
because
yeah.
a lot of the way they are set up, especially that first line, is for you to score. I mean, you could always try and replace him, but you've got to get someone else who's as good a natural scorer as he is. He's a really big, important part of that Perth team, especially with, like, you know, Zane Jones only played a few games this year, kind of similar to what he did last year, I think. Be interested to see if he comes back for finals, because he could also be a big, important piece of their puzzle to try and win the cup. But yeah, if you take you out, I don't know how well that team is going this season. Yeah, he's such a good player. I absolutely love you. You know, me and Courtney talk about him probably every single week. One of our favorites, and I think he has had a big, you know, effect on fans over there, but also around the league as well. I mean, him and Ishida coming in last year, they were amazing. It was amazing to see how great Japanese players are at hockey, and bringing that to our league. So yeah, I hope it starts a trend of more Japanese players coming.
Yeah, I totally agree. He scored over 40 goals across the 2 seasons playing for the Thunder, which is absolutely outstanding. Sky Easton with a comment, pretty sure I saw him in the Terminator movie. Star of the show. This is a good comment as well from Michael Clough, the play-by-play commentator for the Melbourne Ice with ATC Productions. Yu Hikasaki will be very dangerous with his speed on the big ice at O'Brien's come finals time. I think that will play a big factor. And I know you had Rob Hazelhurst on your show, I think it was, Sean, talking about the different rinks and the ice and the surface and how you feel when you get off the ice surface. And Rob mentioned getting off at O'Brien. It feels like he could play another game straight away type of thing. That's the difference in the ice quality. So it's probably a good call from Michael.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, Hugh's a really quick player. It's amazing just how much speed players stand out in this league. Like, I also think you look at David Booth, again, a very quick acceleration, and it makes a big difference.
Andrew John Egan as well. If Perth lift the cup, it'll be on his back. Unreal player. Yeah, I don't disagree with that comment, Andrew. I think it'll be on his back. He's got to score heavy and score big and show up, and I think he will. Mr. Big Time.
Yes, and hopefully he doesn't lose his cool. He had that incident a few weeks ago where he dropped his gloves, but was basically taken away from being able to actually punch anyone. But he got quite riled up, and I've never seen him do that before. But yeah, he was quite riled at the time. But yeah, I think it was against Newcastle, in fact, and I think it might have been Ethan Hawes, but he wasn't interested in a fight back. But yeah.
I think that's sort of how Perth play as well. That's sort of their style, a little bit that in your face and on that edge, and sort of very similar to Melbourne Ice play, that sort of style too, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're very similar in that sense.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've got those sort of players on there, like, you know, Johnson on Perth, for instance, and Hamilton, and then you've kind of got you know, Liam Webster and Jamie Burke on the ice. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The last talking point before we get stuck into the weekend, the standings and the schedules, was Liam Webster. You just mentioned Liam Webster there, becoming the all-time record leader for appearances in the Australian Ice Hockey League with 384 appearances. There was an awesome photo here from Matt Hardigan with a bit of a presentation there for Liam Webster. It's crazy, Sean, because like when I looked at it, like going over my time with the Australian Ice Hockey League, I think Greg Ottie's still the best player that I've ever seen play in the Australian Ice Hockey League. And if you didn't get a chance to watch Greg Ottie play for Adelaide, you missed out, because Greg was absolutely outstanding. And I've got an article on my website about Greg Ottie from years and years back. I went back through the archives and I found an article of Greg Ottie. So it was interesting when it was a 300. Greg Ottie had hit 300 games. I'd wrote an article and interviewed Greg Ottie back in the day. So it was pretty cool to see Liam Webster get to 384 and break the record. But when I looked at it, I thought to myself, and I mentioned to you on your show the other night, I thought to myself, to play 384 games in a league like the Australian Ice Hockey League is, like, one, obviously you got to have the talent and keep showing up and keep putting in the preseasons and keep getting selected and all those sorts of things. And then obviously they will go overseas or they'll go play for their national teams. But we don't have, like, it's not like the NHL where you're playing 82 games across a season and you can rack up these games in no time every season. You're playing, like this season, you'll play 28 games through the regular season. To get to 384, it's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah,
and the most we've ever had in our league is 30 games in a season. So yeah, and we've had seasons where we've had less than 28 games because there's been less teams. So yeah, it is unbelievable achievement by Liam Webster. It just shows, you know, he's been there since day dot and for the ice and has, you know, been around forever. And you kind of need to do that if you're going to break these records. And I must admit, I didn't think that anyone would break Odie's record. Like, he holds so many records in the league. But and I tend to agree. I think of Greg Oddie as probably the greatest player that's played in the Australian League. Even though there'll be a lot of people who watch now who have never seen him play. Although it was interesting talking to Benson on Thursday, because he said that when he started with the Adrenaline, which I think was 2016, you know, that was the very end of Greg Odie's career. So he actually still got to experience playing with him. And I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Courtney's got a comment here. I thought Tim's danger on 282 for North Stars was huge. This is amazing. Yeah, that's massive too. To get to 282 or anywhere up near that amount of games is absolutely massive and should not be sneezed at. I think as well, when I think about Liam Webster, Sean, the fact that it was done entirely at the Melbourne Ice is also that is like super special, because I sat back and I thought, like, when you see, like, over the years, you see, I suppose, Matt Armstrong, who was a favourite son in the Melbourne Ice for a long time, winning cups, and then has shifted over to the Mustangs. It would have felt really strange if, I suppose, thinking about it, if Liam Webster had obviously we know Webster spent time at the Ducks in the PHL and then came back to the AI. It would have felt really strange if Liam Webster had broken this record, but as part of, like, the Mustangs, like in a Mustangs uniform out on the ice. So I think it's really special that he's done it entirely at the Melbourne Ice.
100%, and we've seen that with, like, quite a few people. Like, we've had, like, the Hughes brothers go and play for the Mustangs for a bit. And we've had, Jamie Burke's changed over teams as well, and they've all had different players here have also had stints with the Ducks in the PHL when they were around. So yeah, it's definitely special to do it with one team. Like, it's so rare in sports these days for someone to stick with just one team their entire career, essentially. But I also think that because he did go play in the PHL and obviously missed that AI season, this makes it even, crazy that he's actually been able to break this record, because he was able to basically take a year out and then come back. And they obviously had the COVID shutdown before that. So yeah, amazing, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose the next thing on the list is 400. I don't know Liam. I don't know Liam's situation, but there's probably every chance that the 400 is going to roll around. We'll have to wait and see. Michael Cloth has got a really cool comment here as well. Liam Webster played in the very first Melbourne Ice AIHL game. Val Webster confirmed that for me. That's longevity. That is longevity to play in the very first Melbourne Ice game and still be around today.
And the thing is that he could actually technically already be there. So if you actually have a look back at his stats, he has no stats for the very first two seasons. They're just blank at the moment. So it could be that he's either very close or already there.
Yeah. I know you're doing a deep dive on trying to find a lot of statistics from back in the day. So it will be interesting to see all of that stuff once you've sort of collated it all together. Outstanding achievement, Liam Webster. And to do it at the one club is super special. And Melbourne Ice fans should be very proud of Liam Webster and what he's able to accomplish there. Moving into the standings, Sean, and then we can wrap up this show. As we look at the standings heading into this weekend, the Melbourne Ice obviously on top of 61 points. And then you've got the Thunder in second, 43. Brave in third on 40 with a game in hand. The North Stars in fourth on 39. The Mustangs in fifth on 34 points. The Lightning on 33. And the Adrenaline just sitting outside, I suppose, 10 points out of that top six with 2 games in hand on the Lightning on 23 points. What's one thing that stands out for you when you look at these standings, Sean, heading into this weekend?
I still just can't believe that we're at this point in the season and there's still like these really close battles going on for different positions. Like, for so long this season, everyone seems to have been so close to each other, other than the Ice, who sort of broke away early. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this battle between the Thunder, Brave, and North Stars for that second spot, and then obviously the Mustangs, Lightning, and Adrenaline are fighting for those last 2 spots in finals. And I love the fact that the Adrenaline have kept this race alive by winning both games last week, or not the weekend before. They were off last week, but yeah, it's so much fun to watch.
Corey Katina, Perth is on 43. Yes, according to the AI website, they are on 43. Corey.
Any deducted points have not occurred yet, Corey.
Yeah. Courtney as well, race for second is still very open. Absolutely it is. 100% it is. And the funny thing is, the North Stars, who I've talked about a fair bit on this show, and I'm big on their squad, the North Stars can still potentially move into that second spot as well.
100%. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they do. It wouldn't surprise me if any of those 3 teams finish second. But I mean, the North Stars finished, they were in like the top 2 last year, was it? I can't remember. I think they had the Friday off. I think them and the Bears obviously as the winners of the 2 conferences.
Yeah, they did. They won the conference, yeah.
had the first Friday off, so they both came in on the Saturday, and then both of those teams lost on the Saturday. So I don't know if the North Stars would really want to finish second and have that Friday off. I don't know. That's something which I think a lot of fans have been talking about. What's the advantage of, obviously, 2 games compared to 3? They'll be fresher for the final if you make it. But last year, both teams didn't make it. So do you prefer to go in on Friday and sort of work your way through the weekend? I don't know. Should be fun.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you want to play the Friday and sort of get your legs underneath you and get into that groove of playing? Or do you want to show up on Saturday and sort of just be, I suppose, haven't played a game for a week and you're coming up against, teams that have played all that sort of stuff. Courtney as well, this time last year, finals were well and truly decided. It's far more interesting for fans and players to keep competing this late in the season. It is because I spoke to Peter Lambert last week about it, and Peter said it's great because there's no dead rubbers and you've got teams that are actually playing for meaningful hockey at this late in the season. So it is great for the competition to have that. And
Nathaniel Benson also mentioned the same thing too. He's like, normally we're at this point of the season and we're out of contention for finals, but we're still in it. So it creates a lot more incentive for the players to be playing, really hard right to the end.
And the other thing with that as well, I think it also creates where the imports, if they've got something to play, if there's something to play for, the imports, you might get a case where the imports will go, well, there's nothing to play for, where X amount of games out of the finals, there's not, I'm going home type of thing. I want to go home. There's nothing for me. Yeah. So the fact that we've got meaningful games as well, on the flip side, can, I suppose, hold the imports in the country, and we get to see the imports continue to perform in the AI.
Yeah, 100%.
Looking towards this weekend, week 17 of the competition, the Adelaide Adrenaline will travel to Newcastle today. These are all local times, 5 p.m. local time. The Canberra Brave, they will welcome the Central Coast Rhinos to AIS Arena. That's 5 p.m. local time as well. And then on the Sunday tomorrow, the Adelaide Adrenaline will travel to the Central Coast and play against the Rhinos at 3:30 p.m. And Newcastle will travel to Canberra and play at AIS Arena at 3:30 p.m. as well. This stage of the show, Sean, I usually give my pick of the week. What's your pick of the week? There's only 4 games this weekend, so it's not a stacked house. But what's your pick of the weekend?
Well, it's so hard, right? Because, obviously you got the battle of nowhere between the North Stars and Brave, which could be so important for that second position. But equally, you got the Adrenaline on the road, both games this weekend, and it's so important for them to win those games to be able to keep the race for finals alive. So, I'll go for the North Stars Brave, because I always enjoy North Stars Brave games. But yeah, it's a great weekend, really, even though there's so few games.
Yeah, I do agree, because as well, when you look at this schedule, and I look at like a team like the Central Coast Rhinos, last weekend, they had I know they've lost 7 in a row, but they had every opportunity to win against the North Stars.
They had that period where they scored, I think it was 3 goals in a row, and they took the lead, I'm pretty sure. And I remember when Boulder scored the 3rd, I was like, oh, they're so dialed in right now. They're so confident. That is, they could actually do this. They then didn't have such a great 3rd period, and that probably cost them in the end. But yeah, on their day, the Rhinos can beat anyone. They've just got to be able to put it in for 3 periods in a row.
Yeah, well, late in that second period, they had a 3-1 lead over the North Stars, and then in the 3rd, Evgeny Sachkov went to business and put up a hat-trick and sort of, put it all to bed. But yeah, I totally agree. When the Rhinos are on, they're absolutely on. And when I had Sarah on here, we were talking about that, and you can see it there with the Rhinos. It's just not consistent enough. So when I look at that schedule and what games we've got this weekend, people expecting to walk into to Erino or and play the Rhinos and expecting to walk away with an easy win. It's not going to happen. They're going to make life difficult for you, and they're really going to put up a strong fight, the Rhinos.
Yeah, and they've got lots of talent on their teams. You've got the Kuleshov brothers, you've got Tommy Lander, you've got Bolger, and then you've got their imports, Barzy and Bouchard and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're great players. So you can't discount the Rhinos at all. And if you do, you're going to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bouchard scored 2 last weekend. And if you give some sort of protection to Oberoi, who will steal you a game and all that sort of stuff. So
100%.
they're not an easy out, the Rhinos.
Oberoi is such a good goalie. I absolutely love
he is.
him being back this year. I hope he stays again, because it would be so good to see him become a fixture within this league.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love watching him play. Courtney says Newcastle North Stars v Adelaide is a big one in my mind. Both teams need and want the points. Last home game for Newcastle North Stars in front of our fans would be nice too. And Steve Moller in the chat, Adelaide v Newcastle will be a ripper. So everyone's looking forward to that Adelaide and Newcastle game. Be absolutely massive. I'm trying to think, Sean, what game I wanted to give my pick of the week for this weekend. I reckon it's probably that Adelaide Newcastle game. If I had to pick one game, because when you look at the standings and you look at Adelaide, who are trying to sniff around that top 6 and trying to put the pressure on and trying to creep in, it's massive because they have to win. There's just sort of they have to go in. Yeah, so I think that's what makes it my pick of the week.
Because even if Newcastle lose, right, they're still in finals. Basically, they're basically there. And this weekend we could actually see, both Newcastle and Brave clinch a final spot this weekend. You're totally right. Adelaide have to win. Everything's going to be on the line.
Yeah, 100%. That Sunday game as well. I know that you guys over at Oz Hockey Media posted Newcastle Brave is the free game this weekend. I believe. As well. So check that out. I think it's pretty cool to get these free games, one free game.
Yeah, it's something that they promised last year, but they weren't able, obviously, to deliver it last year. But now they've been able to get it to work. And I think it's great for people to be able to experience AIHL TV that don't want to pay the money for it yet, to be able to just see if it's for them. I think it's a good thing for the league to do.
Yeah, 100%. Courtney as well. My overall season highlight is that every game is anyone's game. You can't underestimate anyone, and you'll fall behind. Totally agree with that, Courtney. It's been a great season in terms of teams either showing up and not showing up, surprises, all those sorts of things. I think it's been a really good season in that sense. And Andrew John Egan with the massive comment here. Southern Lights, the big game this weekend. I'm guessing he's talking about my game tomorrow. At 4 p.m. I had a week off because I had the flu, so I'm back tomorrow. So Andrew John Egan, I expect to see you down there at Ice HQ tomorrow.
Score a goal, Diggy?
I hope so. I'm trying. I started off as defense and now I've moved into center, so I've got a bit more of an opportunity to score a goal. So hopefully it's tomorrow.
How has your ice hockey journey been going?
Oh, it's been good. Yeah, it's been really fun. I've sort of surprised myself a little bit in terms of how I've sort of performed out there. And I think it's a lot of it's confidence, because I'm only getting the game because I live so far from an ice rink. I actually can't get out and sort of get a bit of practice during the week. So it's basically playing one game a week is my ice hockey fix. But just in playing those one games, it's just confidence. I think I'm getting more confident out on the ice to either skate a certain way or do something. And so it's been really cool. And I think sort of my little bit of hockey knowledge that I've got probably helped me as well out on the ice in terms of positioning and things like that. So it's been heaps of good fun, and just enjoying the vibes, mate, and getting out there on the ice and playing the game that I love. So it's cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that'll do us, mate. I think we've ticked over the 1 hour mark, which is one of the longest shows I think we've had. But I'm happy for you to stick it. I'm glad you stuck around for the entire show and gave everyone a bit of an insight, mate. We had plenty of comments in there. Drop a comment before we go and we'll get up on the screen if you've got something to say. But I think that'll do it for us, mate. Sean O'Connor from Oz Hockey Media, thanks for jumping on the morning hockey shot, mate.
Thanks for having me, Doogie. It's been so much fun. Your show's amazing. Everyone needs to be watching this show.
It's good to talk a bit of hockey on a Saturday, and if someone's got a coffee or something, they can just kick back and drop a few comments in the chat and get ready for the weekend.
Yeah, everyone enjoy your weekend of hockey. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to a game or if you're playing, hope your team wins. I hope you score a goal. I hope you make a save. All that sort of stuff. Enjoy your hockey weekend. Courtney, two legends of ice hockey media. Love your work. Thanks, Courtney. We appreciate everything that you do as well. Not only for Oz Hockey Media, but for the North Stars as well. It's appreciated across the entire league. Steve Moller. Great show, guys. Thanks, Steve. Steve's always in here. And Sky as well. Thanks, AMAC and Sean. Thanks, Sky, for jumping in the chat. As I said off the top, you can find my work at andrewkmacdougall.com.au, across the socials on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok at Andrew K. McDougall, and search up Oz Hockey Media across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, OZ Hockey Media. And give them a like and a follow and all that sort of stuff as well. But I think that'll do it for today's show. I am Andrew McDougall. That was Sean O'Connor. This is Hockey Shot. Enjoy your weekend of hockey, and we'll see you next Saturday for the final show at 9 a.m. Bye.
Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be